we all agree that we need toilet paper. We probably didn't need to go out and just buy a bunch of toilet paper.
In a situation like right now, why would you have anything but your own brand available? What are you inserting yourself into, Cody? That's what I want to know.
I'm just trying to understand where you're going. So being available has been huge, and that's how I've been successful. One of my old mentors used to say, I'm never the smartest guy in the room. I'm just the most responsive guy in the room. He said it, and I may not even have the answer, but I'm responding to somebody. Yeah, I'm on it. I've got something. Here's what I know. He said, if somebody emails me, I'm like, let me take a look. Instead of going and looking and finding the answer and then responding to that answer, he's like, just send something, anything out. Just get it out there. That's kind of how I've operated as well. So if I know the answer, I've got the answer. I'm not afraid to share my opinion about what I think.
Clearly.
And so I'll put it out there. And sometimes, it's people want the answer right away, but it's better to let them know you're working on it than just put them on hold, virtual hold, right? And in limbo.
Did you really need to just bring theology into this conversation, Cody?
Well, limbo is actually also a slang for being in the unknown, leaving people in the vast unknown.
That's pretty accurate of what limbo is, and it's very theological. So I didn't know limbo, we were bringing theology into this podcast.
I'm not trying to necessarily bring it in, but I will say that I use it as a slang, which is to be in a place after you die, waiting for something. I was just using it as slang. I don't know what it means.
Nobody uses slang in the boardroom, Cody.
It's not boring, huh? Great. I mean, I don't know. We probably should have just killed this podcast right from it. You're right. Just should have killed it. I'm boring. I'm not using slang appropriately. People are, like I said, I had to shut myself off from the news. I had to put myself on hold from reading reports and seeing how many people were dying and how many people were sick and what other countries were or weren't doing, what they were or weren't reporting, how we are reporting deaths or not reporting deaths, or all of it is just adding anxiety. And it's a topic that's really close to you. What are your thoughts? Where are you taking this? How are you managing the mental health aspect of the social distancing, the fact that we have COVID-19 out there?
I'm not the perfect test subject or the perfect use case for mental health issues, but I will tell you this: just because I may not be suffering from it per se, I see the damage that other people who are experiencing. And what really is making me passionate is that there's just not enough talk. And I get it. Physical health is the most important thing right now, which is why we are isolating, because we are trying to stop the spread of this unknown virus/disease that is, not only is it killing people at crazy rates, but it's manifesting in ways in people that are completely unpredictable. I saw an article last week that young adults are suffering strokes from COVID-19. I didn't know that a respiratory virus would cause you to have a stroke. I had a friend who's the only person I know who's had COVID-19. He told me it was the worst 2 weeks of his life, mainly because not only was he suffering the typical symptoms, fever, loss of breath, coughing, but he had back problems before COVID-19, and COVID-19 attacked his back. So I had another friend whose father unfortunately passed. Father was in great health. COVID-19 hit him. He was dead with a little over a week later. But before he had passed, he started experiencing dementia. I get the physical aspect of it, but that doesn't mean you just completely disregard the mental aspect or the emotional aspect. We are social creatures by design. Now, some of us, like myself, are weird, but for the most part, most people are social, relational creatures. So when you isolate yourself and you don't have that social experience, that begins to affect you in other ways, right? And so the fact that we're not talking about this enough, people are going through PTSD. Right? You got PTSD from people being isolated. You got PTSD from people being on the front lines. There was a report of a surgeon that killed herself. She committed suicide because she was so traumatically overwhelmed by the amount of COVID cases coming in and just what she saw on the front line, which is why they do their little howling thing at 8:00. So kudos to the people who do that. The mental health on both sides is a serious issue, and we're not talking about it. So, and the problem with that is when COVID-19 does eventually pass, which it will, because the president and his experts came out and they said what lines up with every other coronavirus is that it just doesn't survive in high temperature climates, right? So at some point we're going to hit summer, it's going to get hot, the virus is going to pass. But what's not going to pass is the mental aspect of what people had to endure. I wish there was more awareness being shared. I wish there was more, psychologists and mental health experts to really talk about, hey, look, you might be in denial, but if you're a social person and you've been in isolation for 3 to 4 weeks, there's an aspect of your life right now that is code red. And if you don't address it, that's going to manifest in ways that you're not prepared for.
Yeah. And that, that addresses a big part of it. I think the other aspect, and I've been struggling with myself, I have a bit of an alternative point of view and opinion about COVID-19. It is a real disease. It is unknown. It does have, you've listed many things that are factual, right? We know people, broken over 100,000 people that have been tested positive for COVID-19. We see, 60.
That'd be more like 3 million people. 3 million people have been tested with COVID-19. It's a little bit more than 100,000, just a little bit.
Wow. Oh yeah, sorry. Recovered 100,000, right?
Oh, okay. I got you.
Or was it? Yeah. So we've seen. You're right. The number was off there.
Way off. Just for the record.
That being said, it's going to be a lot higher when testing is for antibodies is approved and it's out there, right? We know that it's going to be way more. The numbers are going to go way up. So this thing's real. But my alternative opinion about it is when you start sharing that you think that there may be an alternative point of view that goes against what I'm kind of calling the social media norm, which is I'm just going to blindly agree with what everybody says. And if I have an alternative opinion, that I'm just getting absolutely destroyed. People are afraid to share their thoughts, their opinions about it, their concerns, their questions. I saw a guy in our neighborhood who was legitimately asked a question, and he said, "Has anybody known anybody that's died?" And that's all he asked. Has anybody known? He's like, "Because I don't know anybody," and he's like, "I don't know anybody from back east, and I don't know anybody from the west side in my network." And I reached out to him separately. I'm like, "I don't know the person, but I know the person who knows the person." Right? I just know one person. And that guy got absolutely blown up on social media. Blown up. Are you a denier? You denying science? He's like, oh my gosh, people, if you know somebody, just tell me. I'm trying to get my opinion. I don't believe the media. I don't believe the news. I just don't. He doesn't, which is, I don't either necessarily. I believe it's a way to control people, and I believe it's a way to create a herd mentality. That's my opinion about mainstream media. And so for me, it's an anxiety and a fear that if you ask a question that you're going to get slammed, if you do have an alternative thought. The reason I ask the questions that I ask are to find out people's opinions, get your opinion, get real people's opinions, real people's thoughts, real people's experiences, because we are not connected that way. And there's divisive behavior, people that don't want to listen to your thoughts, because if you say it's not as deadly as we're being told, then all of a sudden you are a science denier. You want people to die, and you're obviously a bad human. I mean, I've seen it. Right. And so what is that on top of the stress of not being able to touch somebody, because I love being in connection with people physically. I like to be around people. I like to, put my hand on their shoulder.
Well, I like to, put my hand on their shoulder.
Don't you dare. The second I said that, leaning into your microphone, like sliding into your microphone, like,
But no, I hear you, man. I hear you.
So I think that adds to it. And instead of being that way, we need to be more tolerant of everybody's opinion and say, listen, let me hear you out. I'm sure this is really stressful for you. You don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with this. And there are people that have different opinions and different beliefs in the purpose and intent of large governments, right?
Right.
That they're probably just absolutely going bananas.
Right.
On to other people that are going absolutely bananas because our government isn't necessarily giving us the information that we need, right? So I'm right there with you that there's multiple dimensions to what's going on with the mental health.
At the end of the day, Cody, you and I will always agree on this, man. At the end of the day, love conquers all. And sometimes people need to be aware of how bad things are in order for them to get outside of themselves and actually show a level of compassion. So
I think that's probably the best comment of the night, Tori. Compassion is what is going to get us through and really let us see what somebody else is dealing with without caring about, like you said, who they voted for or what maybe even what their belief system is, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter because the virus is not political. The virus does not care about your relationship status, right?
Correct.
Are you mad at somebody? Are you not talking to somebody?
Right.
It's gonna hit you and it's gonna kill some people. And the chances of you knowing somebody that's been impacted in that way pretty high right now, right?
It's a lot higher than someone actually having the virus.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, gosh, fear is something that can really cripple and paralyze you. And the only way to help in that way is to be a compassionate person and to put yourself out there for them.
Right.
So yeah, really well said. Thank you.
That's it, man. I hope that we, I hope that someone is blessed by this. Someone is, motivated to go be more compassionate. We really need to raise awareness, man. There's just so many things going on with the mental health aspect, and just we that needs to be a conversation. I'm not saying that it's on the same level as the deaths or as the physicality aspect of it. But it needs to be that the conversation needs to be had. You can't put this aspect on the back burner.
Yeah.
Conversation needs to be had, and sooner rather than later. So
I agree.
Oh man.
Cool. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. If you like the content, you like the conversation, you like the way that we operate, please add us to your feed by hitting subscribe. Make sure you add the notifications so that when we post the new ones, you're going to get it. We're going to do our best to continue to make good content that's relevant, that's fun, that's entertaining. And anyway, we love you guys. We love anybody that's already hit the subscribe button and appreciate your time. See you next time.
Word.